This episode of Nos Arietes is sponsored by Full Pull Wines, a Seattle-based wine retailer and proud sponsor of Nos Arietes since 2011. Full Pull was founded in 2009, is based in Seattle, and is owned and operated by longtime Sounders supporters. They offer the best boutique wines of the world to members of their mailing list, with special focus on their home, the Pacific Northwest.
Hey, this is Christian Roldan.
And Jordan Morris from the Seattle Sounders Football Club.
And you're listening to...
This is Nos Arietes.
Here we go. Come on! Hey, O'Shan! Let's go!
Save by Fry! The Seattle Sounders have done it! MLS Cup winners!
Here comes Rangers through the middle to Crowded for Seattle! And now they truly can start the celebrations. It's the Sounders MLS Cup.
Nico Lodero leaves absolutely no doubt! The Sounders rule the region!
Seattle Sounders is good.
Seattle Sounders, the greatest MLS team in history.
They've scored! They've scored! Finally!
This feels fucking awesome.
This is a tiny dog.
Is that what you young people call twerking?
And Paul McKay says, cheat!
We want to win. Let's see how the Sunday, bro.
Good for Seattle!
Welcome back to another episode of Nos Arietes, sponsored by Full Pull Wines and Watson's Counter. Joining me today is Michael Citro of The Mainland and the managing editor of The Mainland and the host of the Mainland pod, or the, how do you call it? What's the podcast, but a PAWED, right?
Yeah, we're very big on our lion puns.
Yes.
So we use pod as PAWED.
Yes, that's right. I knew there was a pun in there. But anyway, we're going to talk about Orlando City coming to town on Saturday. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so first off, you guys are one of the SB Nation sites that has gone independent. How is that going so far?
It's pretty great. I mean, once we were out from under the SB Nation shadow and had everything sort of running and working, and the stress of that died away, it's kind of cool to be your own boss and not have, Big Brother looking after you. So it's been pretty fun, and our community has been very supportive of us, and we're very appreciative of that. And we are trying to find more and more ways to add value and cover this team as to the best of our ability. It's been a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and so the team you're covering has been sort of up and down. I don't know. How would you describe where the team is right now? It's 3-1-4, but does it feel like an ascending 3-1-4, or is this like what are the vibes like in Orlando?
Yeah, I think it's a slight improvement. There for a while it was win one, lose one, win one, lose one. It's been more up than down. The problem for the team in the recent 2 months has been the home games have been close, and they've allowed 3 tying goals that were from winning positions in the last 4 home games, in the 89th minute, in the 86th minute, and Wednesday night in the 90th minute.
Wow. Yeah, that can get a little tiresome. That can get to be a little much. So it sounds like a lot of exciting games though. One for better or for worse.
Yeah, the team is fun to watch for the most part. They do have some of those games where they're just kind of hanging on for dear life, but I think every team has those every once in a while. But there are star players on this team that the pieces haven't quite gelled completely yet, but when they have flashes of coming together, the soccer is amazing to watch. But those flashes of brilliance need to become a little bit more consistent, and I think that's starting to happen with designated player Martin Ojeda. He's starting to get more comfortable. He actually had been coming off the bench up until the international break when Orlando had to play a couple of games without Facundo Torres. Torres started the season very slowly like he did last year, but he started to come on right before the international break, so it really sucked to lose him for a couple of games. And Ercan Kara was doing quite well, but then he's kind of fallen off the last few weeks, and Duncan McGuire has really come on. The rookie that was drafted in the first round out of Creighton has been amazing. He scored a goal last night. Probably should have been credited with the second goal that Ojeda scored because it deflected in off him, but Opta for some reason said they weren't going to change it, and he should have had an assist, but Ivan Angulo missed a wide open net from 8 yards out.
And so when I look this up, it looks like you're going to be pretty much full strength for the game, right? On Saturday, no international absences.
Yeah, the two Peruvians, Pedro Galese, the starting goalkeeper, and Wilder Cartagena, who has kind of become the number 8 this year, was kind of signed to be a backup central midfielder, but he's really seized that role this year. And those two are with Peru, but they are flying directly to Seattle. I believe they may have done that yesterday from Japan, because the Peru played in Japan and I believe South Korea on this most recent international trip. Facundo Torres should have arrived today and left with the team, so everybody should be there. There is a U22 initiative winger named Gaston Gonzalez who is injured, and he just came back in last night's game. It looked like he re-aggravated the hamstring. So, but mostly it's a full strength squad.
And it looks like Orlando's actually been really good on the road this year. I believe they have the second best road record in all of MLS. Has that included many West Coast trips?
No, it really the team hasn't really gone out much. They're about to start those. They're going to Seattle. They'll be going to Real Salt Lake in a couple of weeks. So mostly it's been within the conference. Although one of those was at Minnesota, and that was a nice comeback win for Orlando there.
And so what is it? They actually have a better record on the road than at home. What is the key to that? Is that just a fluke of the schedule?
I think it was just a slow start, and some of those home games at the beginning of the year were in that time when Orlando City was still in the midst of trying to get through the Champions League. First, they had the toughest draw. They had to play Tigres in the first round, and they were doing a lot of squad rotation. But then they also played some of their teams that have given them trouble. For some reason, whenever Wayne Rooney is involved with DC United, Orlando can't seem to beat DC United. I don't know what it is, but that's an issue. That was one of the losses. Charlotte, I think, surprised them. They kind of played well enough to beat Charlotte by 3 goals, but somehow could only score 1 and lost that game. So again, there's some growing pains with some of the new attacking pieces early, and that's when some of those home losses took place. They've been much better at home lately. Those late goals conceded aside.
So like the Sounders, you're coming off a game on Wednesday. Unlike the Sounders, you're having to travel all the way across the country. Mm-hmm. How much squad rotation are you expecting?
Probably not a great deal, although they'll try to limit minutes and maybe play guys for halves, and instead of going 60 to 90. I think Facundo Torres will be back in the starting lineup. Ojeda will probably go to the bench because he went pretty deep on Wednesday night. I think Mauricio Pereira is just automatically in the lineup whenever he plays, the captain. Angulo will play. I believe Duncan McGuire will probably get the start because he's been the man the last couple of games, scored goals in the last 2 games. Although Kara got more rest, so maybe Kara gets the start there. It's the back line almost never seems to rotate a whole lot. So I think we'll be seeing the same starting 2 center backs, Robin Janssen and Antonio Carlos. Will probably see maybe a halftime change. Maybe Rodrigo Schlegel will come in at halftime for one of those 2 guys. And then Luca Petrasso could start at left back in place of Rafael Santos. And Mikey Halliday could start in place of Kyle Smith. But the fullback situation this year in Orlando has been kind of trial and error. Nobody's really claimed those 2 spots yet.
So you mentioned Halliday. He, like Obed Vargas, is coming off the U20 World Cup. What can you tell us about his game?
Mikey's a good, quick player. Likes to get forward. is pretty active in the attack. He probably could use a little bit more seasoning, a little more experience defending 1v1 in at this level. He does sometimes get muscled off the ball by larger attackers, but he's a guy that's got a lot of promise, and I think that he's one of the homegrowns that Orlando City is highest on. I think he's got a really high ceiling. His crosses have been a little inconsistent, but every now and then he puts one in that you just think if he could just get those dialed in a little bit more consistently, he could be a real weapon on the right.
So looking through the stats on Orlando, something that sort of jumps out here is two of the top goal contributors, or the two top goal contributors, Duncan McGuire, Martin Ojeda, are both used off the bench almost as much as they start. Is this a team? Is that an accurate description of what they're doing, or is that or have they both grown into bigger roles as they have started producing more goals?
Well, Duncan had to start early in the season when Kara was injured. So Kara missed some time, and Duncan got off to a good start. And then he kind of tailed off a bit, and Kara got hot when he came back. And then Kara kind of tailed off a bit, and then Duncan was, putting in some goals off the bench. Ojeda he started like he wasn't even going to have any kind of adjustment period, but then he started to struggle and be inconsistent, give the ball away, and started sitting and watching games, and then coming in the second half, and he seemed more comfortable doing that for the last several weeks. And so he's been able to kind of Ojeda's got some pretty good speed, and he's a pretty good presser, and he's a little bit sneaky. He can sneak up behind players a little bit and take the ball off them. So he's able to come in against those tired legs and make some things happen. So I think it's probably a mix of the two, where Duncan can score either off the bench or coming in and starting, whereas Ojeda has gotten more of his goals off the bench, although he did start Wednesday night when he scored.
And so, is this a team that tends to sort of? Based on that, it suggests that this is a team that's capable of scoring some late goals. Has that sort of been a hallmark?
Yeah, we call them the cardiac cats for a reason, and that's for both good and bad reasons. They can score in the 94th minute. They can give up a goal in the 94th minute.
And so, what's your expectation level coming into this game?
This will be the third game in 8 days, second of the two on the road, both of those games on turf. I'm thinking that Orlando fans would probably be happy coming home with a draw. But this team has been very surprising on the road and has won games that we didn't think they would win on the road before. So you never know. Although they haven't won at Seattle in their history yet. In fact, I think last year was the first time they ever beat the Sounders since joining MLS. So, yeah, I think we would all be happy if they just came home with at least a point. Anything beyond that would probably just be gravy, considering all the travel and 2 road games and 3 games in 8 days. I think that would probably be, like I said, icing on the cake if they came home with 3. 1 would be good. And then those of us that have been watching this team since they were pretty bad are just sitting here saying, Seattle, not in the face, okay? Not in the face.
Well, I don't know. The Sounders haven't been hitting too many people in the face lately. So we have an ongoing joke on the show where the lower the expectations of the guest, the higher result tends to be, which is sort of the Sounders have this weird way of kickstarting other teams' seasons, despite what the numbers sometimes suggest. But Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people read you? How can people follow you? Is there anything they should know about the editorial project that is The Mainland?
Yeah, you can read our site. We're themainland.com. Maine is M-A-N-E, like a lion's mane, because again, lion puns instead of M-A-I-N. So themainland.com. That's where you can find all of our stories, or you can follow us on Twitter at The Mainland, and you can listen to our podcast. The Mainland podcast is again M-A-N-E, and it's available on all the different platforms. You can find us there, and if you want to find out more about our team, that's what we do. That's what we write about. So feel free to check us out.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for doing this. I am Jeremiah Shan, signing off for Nos Audietis. We will catch you next time.
We love you. Let's win another one.